Thank you. It is 7:32 on Tuesday, January 8th. We're here at the Nashua North Boardroom, and I'm calling this special session of the Nashua Board of Education to order. If you could please call the roll, Mr. Guarino.
Thank you, Madam President. Mrs. Oden?
Here.
Ms. Raymond?
Here.
Mr. Kaufman?
Here.
Mr. Mosher?
I'm here.
Ms. Van Twyver?
I'm here.
Mr. Guarino is here. Ms. Hohensee?
Here.
Ms. Timmons?
Here.
Ms. Porter?
Here.
We have a quorum. Mr. Mosher is joining us by telephone. Are you by yourself, Mr. Mosher?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Ms. Van Twyver is also joining us by telephone. Are you by yourself, Ms. Van Twyver?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Guarino. Ms. Van Twyver, did you get the email that I sent you about, I don't know, half an hour ago with the committee assignments?
I don't think so. Let me check.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Mosher, I apologize. I got the grid back from Ms. Kinsella this afternoon, but I completely forgot to run it over to your house in between taking my children to their activities. So if you will indulge me for a minute, I will let you know, Mr. Mosher, where you are. Okay?
Okay,
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, I have you on Finance and Operations as a member.
Yes,
I have you on Policy as a member.
yes,
And then continuing on the JSBC and
Correct.
Construction.
very good.
Okay. So I have handed out this evening a copy of all of the assignments from the information I got last night and some emails that I got since last night. And I did my very best. So I'm ready to entertain discussion or motions. We might want to give Ms. Van Twyver a moment to see if she has the email. Ms. Van Twyver, any luck?
Sorry, I was on mute. I have it.
Okay, excellent. Okay, Ms. Timmons, you had your hand raised?
Yes, Madam President, on the back side, there is Nashua Directors, and it has one member. We have a member, Gloria Timmons, but there's an alternate, and that is Susan Porter.
Okay, and that is on the actual,
Contract, the new negotiation that we started
Okay.
on December the 11th, that the directors voted
okay.
for.
All
Thank you.
right, I will let Ms. Kinsella know.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Mr. Guarino.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we accept the 2019 BOE committee appointments
I second that.
as distributed today
And
Second.
amended.
as amended.
And yes, second that.
Thank you. Discussion. Mr. Kaufman.
I would suggest that on the budget, you add Dan Donovan, because if you recall, Dr. Mosley might make the presentation, but when it gets down, Dan Donovan is clearly working. You know, that's his thing.
Agreed. Thank you.
He's the guy.
Okay. Ms. Hohensee.
Thank you. I don't want to be problematic, but, I mean, is there any way I could switch to policy? I sent you an email, and I don't want to go into that now.
Yes.
But I asked to be off policy under certain terms, and otherwise,
And on to curriculum, which is why I put
right,
you on
but that
curriculum.
didn't happen, so I got moved anyway.
I guess, I'm open to that if there's another member who would be willing to switch with you. And right now, the members of that committee are Mr. Mosher and Ms. Van Twyver. So I would put the question to them. Would either of you like to switch to curriculum? Okay. Hearing nothing.
Well, I could switch to curriculum, because that was my first choice, and she could switch with, I don't know if you want to go to finance. No,
Thank you.
okay.
It's all right, I guess.
Okay. Mr. Kaufman?
I would just point out in the past, for especially the custodian contract, just like the teacher's contract, we would have 3 or even 3 members plus an alternate to those committees.
Yes,
And considering that, I mean, I've been on the board 3 years, and before I got here, that's been, up in the air, as it were.
Yep.
So you may want to put more people on that. I offered to do that.
Thank you, and I've kept that in mind. In this particular case, these 2 contracts are in progress. The negotiations they started in 2018. So at this point, members have been voted on. My understanding is we would have to go back to everybody on the negotiating teams and ask them to vote again to add or subtract members.
It's our decision whom we put on our team. The union has no say who we put on a negotiations team.
No, but
They've switched on us before.
yeah, but we have the right to object to that as well, just as they would have the right to object if we switched.
Well, the first year I was on it with Ms. Oden and Sandra. Second year it switched, and the third year it could switch.
Right in the middle of the negotiations?
Yes.
And you're at
It's
an
been 3
impasse
years.
now.
Yeah.
3
So-
years. Switching it
Okay.
or
Well-
adding one wouldn't hurt.
Right. My plan, just to let you in on some of my thoughts, was should we have another contract that comes up? And I believe we might this year, later on in the year.
There's only one contract that I know of, and I think that's going to be transportation.
Yep. So, at that point, I would then ask members to step up to take on that contract at the time when we need people. Okay. Ms. Timmons, did you have your hand up, or are you resolved?
I'm resolved, thank you.
Thanks. Do we have any other questions or comments? Oh, Ms.
I
Timmons.
do have a question, and it's resolved anyway, but if it's not resolved, I would still like to be the only one to ask me. That's the way they want it, that's the way we can vote to select. If we want to go into a vote, we can vote to have 1 member or 3 members. We could do that and satisfy Mr. Kaufman's.
Mr. Kaufman.
I think it's wrong that I think it's wrong in just general terms that we only have 1 negotiator for any of these large contracts, especially one that's been lingering for 4 years. I would encourage us to add a person, not remove a person.
Well, we have 4 right now. We have Ms. Timmons.
You have 2 members.
2 board
The board
members, yes.
negotiates the contract. Mr. Donovan and Dr. Mosley are there as support persons.
Right.
They don't negotiate on our behalf. Is Tom Clausen going to be there for these?
My understanding is yes.
Yes, he's there on both of them, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I would prefer that we add maybe another person and an alternate, quite frankly, to show the union that we're serious, that the board is focused on trying to make this happen. That was what we do with the teacher's contract.
Right.
That's what we've done in the past with AFSCME. Dottie, do you recall, it was you and Doris, was Elizabeth,
Sandra.
Sandra, so there was at least 3 board members prior doing AFSCME.
Okay.
So now you only have 2. They get into that. They think in terms of, if you're serious, you'd have more people, so.
All right. Well, thank you for your advice and historical context. Ms. Oden.
We did have 3. I think it's fine the way it is. The only thing I think we need to do to improve it is to make sure the board is updated by those on the team. Come back and let us know where things stand. I think that communication is important. So I don't see a problem as long as we make sure that we have that communication.
I agree. I would like to, moving forward, make part of our agenda on perhaps the second meeting of the month to have a time. I know we have non-public in every agenda, but I'd like to make a commitment to having that second meeting of the month include a non-public for updates on contracts. That way, the people on the team know that they know the will of the board, and then the rest of the board knows what's going on with the negotiating team, so that we're not finding things out as things have moved further than we would prefer.
I just think it's a bad practice to have 1 member the focal point on every negotiation. That was Ms. Timmons did the teachers. She finished up the teacher's contract, the director's contract. I believe you're involved in food service, and now these 2. I think, everybody should get a taste of the pain of a union negotiation. Those of us who've been through it, I did 2 years doing the teacher's contract. So that should be shared, and I just think this is a bad practice.
Okay.
Because you guys are going to be here for a while, and that experience should be shared. It shouldn't be in the hands of just one or even two people.
Okay. Thank you for your advice, Mr. Kaufman.
Sure, thank you.
Ms. Oden and then Ms. Timmons, please.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, Ms. Timmons was the only one who volunteered to be on the custodian negotiations. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, so
No, it's not correct.
that is correct, and I still have the papers at home if you'd like to see them.
Hey, take it easy, Dottie.
Okay. Ms. Timmons.
I just want to make one correction that Mr. Kaufman said. I was not on full service.
Oh.
Okay, thank you.
I know, I asked for the directors last year. I was very clear about that.
Okay. And as I said, I went with what existed as these are in the middle. When another contract comes up, I absolutely am open to taking volunteers again.
Okay.
So, did anyone else have
Get out of here.
comment or question? Ms. Oden and then Ms. Timmons?
I was going to move the motion.
Do the same thing.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, excellent. So Ms. Oden has called to move the motion.
I second it.
Okay. On the motion, to move the motion, Mrs. Oden,
Yes.
Ms. Raymond,
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman,
Yes,
Mr. Mosher,
Yes.
Ms. Van Twyver.
I'm having a little trouble hearing those things. It's not coming through clear. We are voting on to accept this list?
Not yet. We're voting to move the question.
To end debate and move the question.
All right, to move the question, yes.
Mr. Greeno votes yes. Ms. Hohensee?
Yes.
Ms. Timmons?
Yes.
Ms. Porter?
Yes.
Okay, so motion carries 9-0.
Okay.
Now, would you-
I'm sorry, Mr. Greeno, can I interrupt? Ms. Van Twyver, you said you were having difficulty understanding. Do you feel comfortable going forward with the vote at this time?
Sure.
Okay.
so the motion is to accept 2019 BOE committee assignments as amended. That those amendments are Mr. Donovan was added to the
Budget.
budget, and Ms. Porter was added to the Nashua directors
Yes.
negotiation. And those are the only changes I have. So on the motion, Ms. Oden,
Yes.
Ms. Raymond,
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman,
yes,
Mr. Mosher,
Yes.
Ms. Van Twyver,
Yes.
Mr. Greeno votes yes. Ms. Hohensee,
Yes.
Ms. Timmons,
Yes.
Ms. Porter,
Yes.
motion carries 9-0.
Okay. Thank you all. Mr. Kaufman?
move to adjourn.
Second.
Ready for the vote to adjourn?
Absolutely. It's icy out.
Okay. On the motion to adjourn, Mrs. Oden,
Yes.
Ms. Raymond,
Yes.
Mr. Kaufman,
Yes.
Mr. Mosher,
Yes.
Ms. Van Twyver,
Yes.
Mr. Greeno votes yes. Ms. Hohensee,
Yes.
Ms. Timmons,
Yes.
Ms. Porter,
Yes.
motion carries 9-0. We are adjourned at 7:45.
Could we just warn people, if the public is going out at all, that some of the side roads are extremely dangerous?
Yes,
Very,
please.
very icy.
Please
So-
take care, and to all of our members as well.
Yeah,
Please drive
drive
safely
carefully.
this evening. We'll see you, I don't know when. Thanks.